and full share results. So it looks like, of course, well, almost everybody here is faculty, which makes sense. And all of you, yeah. Well, sometimes we have students.
We do. They sneak in on us.
We do. And so it looks like pretty much everyone is just sort of like dipped a toe, maybe, in this world. So we will keep that in mind as we talk through things. And like I said, please do ask questions. We want to answer any of your burning questions that you have. Okay, take it away, Brenda.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. She says with confidence. And what you'll see here is the library's homepage. What I want to talk to you about is a portion of grants that is pretty typical, and that is the literature review. We have a really powerful database that I want to talk to you about. We have more than just this one that I'm going to show you, but the one I want to show you is pretty special in a lot of ways. So let me get down to the databases box here under popular services, and we'll go to the letter W for Web of Science. I know some of you might have heard me talk about this one before, but it does a lot for you. And I'm a fan of, hey, when I can find something that is like the Swiss Army knife of research, that's what I want. So this Web of Science is sort of one of those tools. So what lives in here? It is the core journals in sciences and humanities, social sciences, arts and humanities, and science. So it's all of those disciplines pulled together and the core journals living in here. Some of you that might have looked at it before, you'll see that the interface changed over the summer. I will warn you, it has a lot of pop-ups that can drive you crazy. So be warned. So I'll just come in here and I'm going to put in very broad search. And I'm using quotes so that it will, well, I'll be darned. Here's a pop-up right now for us. Let me put you guys over here, and I'm going to get out of this pop-up and tell it to go search for me. And here is the result list. And a couple of things that I want to draw your attention to on the left right away, because our search is so broad. The one thing, well, 3 or 4 things. The highly cited papers are those articles that are getting a lot of attention that live within this container. They could be getting attention elsewhere, but within this Web of Science container, we've got 688 out of 79,100 that are highly cited. And you'll see over here on each of the results, the citations and then the references. So you're doing some genealogy here. But I really, not only am I taking this as information for you, but also for your students. Things that they might be concerned about are using those papers that have gotten a lot of attention, whether that's good or bad attention, that it's getting attention, but also these hot papers. And there are some metrics that Web of Science uses to decide what the hot papers are. Typically, they are getting a lot of attention, a lot of citations quickly after publication. But these can be useful, again, for your students who are kind of struggling for an idea, or maybe you want to start a new line of research, or maybe you're like, what's happening beyond Ball State? I've been kind of in my little cave. I think we all kind of feel that way right now. And this can be very helpful. But in addition to that, of course, up here, we don't want to deal with 79,000 articles, but you can come up here and refine that. If you want to see the citations and references, you just click on them. And if they live in this database, you can certainly have access to them. Now you'll notice in order to get the actual article, sometimes there isn't the full text link, but there is the multi-link BSU. That's a big, big heads up that you may have to use interlibrary loan to get this article sent to you. But something that for the funding workshop that is the focus of this. If we scroll ourselves down, what you can see is one of the filters of funding agencies. Okay, and so what you can do is, we're not going to look at all of 79,000 possible, not all of them got funded, but several have. But you can tinker with this on your own. But what I like is that it shows you where the funding is coming from for these articles that have received funding. So maybe we're interested in natural resources of Canada. We'll refine our list. And when you open the record, what you'll see as you scroll down, down, it will give you the funding agency there. And you can view the funding text, which is generally the thank yous and the the important players here. But that can be helpful for you to sort of get that breadcrumb going for your own interest of who do I talk to about XYZ. And also this opened up, but it's also giving you the address information and the address to the person who wrote the article. So there's a lot of information in this one record if you too wanted to try seeing if there was any funding available for yourself in this. So it might fall outside of the typical path for finding funding, but sometimes we have to take those steps. So again, this database is pretty powerful. Questions? And I don't have the chat box up, so if there are any, you'll have to read them to me. All right, I'm going to go ahead. Oh, there. Okay, let's see. This is cool. It is so cool. Thank you. I feel like such a nerd sometimes. It's like, I love this stuff. All right. I'm going to go ahead and send you to Augusta. And if you have questions about the inner work thing, oh, one more thing, Augusta, I'm sorry. Some of you might have poked around in here before and you're going, where is that? And you're filling in the blank. It's probably up under products. For example, Publons, that is, yes, Augusta and I like that. It is a way to identify yourself as the researcher and be able to connect with other researchers. And so it's setting up your sort of account within this company. And so you can bring everything under one umbrella. It can be beneficial. The essential science indicators, I use that typically if somebody has a very specific question, like more journal focused or discipline focused. For example, they might say to me, Brenda, I want to know what all the hot topic papers were in XYZ journal. And this helps me get to that. Or they want to know what the highly cited articles are in a certain discipline. And so the essential science indicators, which doesn't give you any sort of clue that's what it does that. And so if you have that type of question, shoot me an email. I'll be happy to help you. And then we have the journal citation reports, the JCR. It is on the databases page that at the beginning when I went to the alphabet and went to W, you just go to the J's and it's a separate database. So, all right. And now I'll send it over to Augusta and I will stop sharing my screen.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. I am going to share my screen and kind of hop off of where Brenda stopped. She mentioned Publons, and yes, we do like that word a lot. But one of the things you can do with Publons is integrate your ORC ID. And so what the ORC ID is, and some of you may already know about this, but it's a free a service. I have it up here on the screen. That basically it gives you an identification number that can go on all of your publications, your grant opportunity, or your grant proposals and awards. And it identifies you across like all all sorts of spectrums of academe, including like Google Scholar and ResearchGate and all of those other places where you might find yourself or cited or referenced or whatever. But then the other cool thing that that integrates directly with like grants is NSF, so the National Science Foundation, and NIH, the National Institutes of Health, have really started pushing registering for an ORC ID because of this integration across all of these different platforms. That helps track impact and reach. And so with NSF and NIH kind of going this way, more funding agencies are also kind of hopping on that bandwagon, and they are saying, yes, get your ORC ID, and then also start using what's called Science CV. And so Science CV is another integration specifically for NIH, the ERA Commons, that's their electronic research administration platform, and then the National Science Foundation has research.gov. And both of these are now requiring the use of Science CV to put together the CV resume attachment that is pretty much required universally across all grant applications. But instead of, one of the hurdles or whatever is for grant applications is all of the different things that you have to pull together for your application. And I don't know about you, we're supposed to keep our resumes up to date, but maybe it's been a minute. And especially the ones in academia, you gotta pull together all your publications and your books and your presentations. And if you have your ORCID ID on all of those things already, and you pop your ID into Science CV, it just puts it all in there for you. And then on the outside, if you're applying to the National Science Foundation, there's just a button that says export in NSF format, and it's there. The end. So it's really, I think most faculty find it helpful on the other end. Like anything that's useful, it can be a little cumbersome to get set up, but give it a little time. And it is an actual useful tool, and we have information about this on our website. And if any of you have interacted with our office, you know that each department has a designated proposal manager, and they would be able to advise you and kind of point you in the right direction for the help documentation, or and I think for Science CV, you can actually designate a proxy to help you enter some information. So there are multiple helps here, but I did want to, since Brenda shared about Publons, I wanted to share that these are two things that are very helpful specifically for faculty. Questions about that? I know I just sort of like rambled through that, and I can't see the chat, so Brenda or Che, if you would tell me if there's something. So on our website, Sponsored Project Administration, we have a button that says Find Funding. And if you click that, you'll come here, and we have two tabs, faculty and students. They're basically the same, but on the faculty, it really is just kind of SPIN and then some other things. SPIN is our current external funding opportunity database subscription service that we have. Some of you might remember Pivot, but after some research on different softwares, SPIN was just as useful as Pivot, and so we switched last year, and I think to some degree of success, because there are a lot of bells and whistles on SPIN in the same way that Pivot had bells and whistles. It's just a little fewer of them. So if you click here, you'll see there's the link, and there's also, I did a walkthrough specifically for SPIN for the College of Health, and I recorded it. So again, if you're really interested in hearing me drone on about spin. You can listen, there's more content. So I'm just going to do a quick walkthrough of spin and then cover a little bit about kind of grants generally before I hand it over to Che. We do have the SSO turned on for sign in for this. So choose from the drop down Ball State University, and then you'll see that very familiar red screen. Okay, I was gonna say I did the duo earlier today. So here, my screen looks a little bit different from yours because I am an administrator, but you'll see the same, basically the same drop downs, except for administration. So in the search function, it's, you know, standard. Everybody understands search these days. So text search is just a general text. Keyword is by essentially a tag. And then advanced search is sort of a mix of both. I always suggest starting general and kind of then like culling down your search as you look. It's also helpful before you start to search to think about your work and maybe like an elevator pitch. So be able to summarize what you want to do in maybe 3 to 5 sentences. And then that should give you maybe some keywords, some key phrases, some key, you know, that will sort of help you hit the high points that may help you with your search. Also, before you start searching, think about what you need. So grants are really helpful for student wages, travel, supplies, but also for time, for software, for participant support costs, you know, incentives if you want to do research. If it's a creative project, then, you know, maybe it's just summertime so that you have time to write or do the thing that you need to do. So, you know, there are lots of possibilities with grants, and before you just start digging in for sponsors, you should probably have an idea of what it is that you need from a grant, as well as what it is you want to do. So I'll just do a text search, and this software will ask you, like it sees every search as like new, so you'll want to every time you do something, it'll ask you if you really want to do that, and that, like the Web of Science, is a little annoying. So I'm just going to go big and go higher education and look at funding. And so, like every database, you know, you'll get a lot. Obviously, this is 1,800 opportunities. That's a lot. And so you'll probably want to kind of dial back what it is that you want, what it is that you need. And so each one of these you can sort by. You can sort by deadline date, funding amount. If it's not specified, then, you know, maybe you don't care about those and you can just click it. And select any one of these. See if I can do this. So typically, no, it opens up in a new window. So I'll have to do this again because you can't see that. Go, see? Okay. Well, while it's thinking about it, it opens up in a new window and shows you the opportunity. Thank you. And so this is what you see, and it has very basic information, a deadline date if they know it, the funding level, eligibility, and you can click on more. So, you know, institution of higher education. It gives a link. This is important because you'll always, you know, this is the database, it's a place to start, but it's also curated by humans. And so you'll always want to go out to the sponsor website. The sponsor website is going to have the most up-to-date information. And so, you know, if for whatever reason the Division of Environmental Biology decided that its scope was going to go a different direction, that information would be on the NSF website. But this should give you like a pretty good starting place for what it is these opportunities have available. And so then it also gives like a synopsis that might help you find, match the opportunity to those keywords in that summary, that elevator pitch of what you wanted to do. It also may have some information about like what it is that they fund. You know, if they won't fund travel, it would tell you that. If it will not fund students, it would say that. It might say that, I should say. Here in eligibility, it just gives a little bit more information about that. Funding, again, a little bit more. And then here's the sponsor contact information. And then at the very bottom, it shows keywords that matched up to it. So, you know, we started with that text search, and then here it's showing you what keywords got hit at the same time. And so you can actually click on each of these. And I don't know whether you can see that, but it brings up a little window with other opportunities. And unfortunately, you can't click on these, but you can copy the text, and you could then copy and search that text to find that opportunity. And so also I call it what happens when you search for grant opportunities is kind of like a needle in a haystack, and you just fall down this black hole. But you know, you do a couple searches and you find a couple opportunities, you're like, this is close, and you start to sort of like find the keywords, and you know, you'll start seeing some similar keywords, or maybe some keywords that you didn't expect based on the summary. I know that sometimes we get kind of in our own heads about our work, and you maybe don't see some aspect of it that, you know, your search might. And so if you're very interested in this program, you can click bookmark program, and that will actually like flag it to keep. You can create a little list. If you have different sections of your scholarly agenda that you want to help fund, you can do that. Or if you just have a general one, I'm going to go ahead and put this in higher education and save changes. You can also go over here and email it to yourself, which is nice. But then back in my spin search, I'm going to refresh this. In my bookmarks here in higher education, there is this DEB NSF here that I can reference when I need to. We also have a number of saved searches. So that is curated searches that, well, I've created based on searches that I do or I have done multiple times. And so these are available to anyone who logs into Spin. You can just like pop in here and run these searches. And then again, it says, are you sure you really want to do that? Yes, I do. So yeah, it'll go ahead and load up the search that's already done for you if that's a subject that you're interested in. Beyond that, you can actually create, I think, bookmarks. No, cancel, sorry. I can share these myself, or you can you can manage a funding alert from any of your own saved searches so that you are getting emails on a regular basis about your, those opportunities in areas that you're interested in. I do have a PowerPoint that kind of walks through the specifics of each of the functions a little bit more thoroughly, because obviously we can't hit on everything today. Does anyone have any questions about Spin, the Spin software? Like I said, this is available on our website under funding opportunities. It's also listed on the library's database site under S. I will also say that on our SPA website, this opportunity website includes a link to grants.gov, the Indiana State Department of Administration. So that's like state contracts. Sometimes there are some very interesting opportunities out there, RFPs that are issued by the state. Also, candid.org used to be the Foundation Center, and GuideStar. Those were like nonprofit resources, but they combined or were purchased. I'm not really sure what happened, but they came together and now they're Candid. But there are like a ton of resources on candid.org that are free, including an RFP bulletin that comes out every Friday, regular new funding opportunities that come out, and you can have, they're done by subject. So they have like education and arts and science, technology, things like that. And you can subscribe to any one of them. And so that helps you get those opportunities coming to your inbox instead of you having to go find them. That's kind of another important aspect of looking for funding opportunities is you can get burned out. Obviously, there are a lot of avenues to searching for funding opportunities. And so the more you can get that information coming to you, the better your life will probably be. It's just easier so that you don't have to go looking for it.
I guess that we have a question.
Okay.
Does Spin work better with one browser over another?
It does not. I haven't had any problems using, I'm using Chrome right now, but I haven't had trouble with Firefox, and I hope nobody's using Edge. But I haven't heard that any of the Mac browsers like Safari or Opera, any of those are not supported. And it is a cloud-based software, so there really shouldn't be a problem. Other questions? I did also, if there are no questions, I did want to share kind of a little bit about what Sponsored Projects does and how we can help faculty. So I'm going to stop share and just talk at you for just a few minutes. So Sponsored Projects is an administrative office at Ball State, and we help faculty and students find and apply for funding opportunities. And then once you get that award, we are the administrative office that helps you actually financially administer that award. And so we have the pre-award team, which is my team, our team, where we do education and the proposal development. And then we have a compliance team that helps with contract negotiation, award acceptance, things like that. And then we also have a post-award team that they are the ones that live with the grant to administer it. And we all live in a house on the corner of Riverside and Warwick. That it kind of doesn't look like a Ball State office, but it sure is. And we have a list on our website. You probably saw it right next to find funding. There was a button for find your proposal manager or grant manager. And so if you have an opportunity or just have a question about grants, grant seeking at Ball State, find your proposal manager and get in touch with them. Or if you're thinking about getting into or wanting to learn more, we're here to answer questions, not just to help you put together your grant proposals, although we do that and do it pretty well, I think. Yeah, any questions about Sponsored Projects kind of in general before I turn it over to Che? All right, so I'm going to let Che take it from here. And he has a little bit on our outreach.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen too. Can you hear me okay? Good. Okay. So I wanted to just follow up on one brief thing with Augusta talking about finding different sponsors, like when you go on to Spin. So I just want to show you a quick example of a sponsor, which might be very basic, something that you're already familiar with. But if you're on Spin and you go to a sponsor site, or if you're just searching on your own, you will often find that there's a lot of tools and resources on a sponsor page that can help kind of direct you and figure out if your project is going to align with what the sponsor might be looking for. So here we have the Ball Brothers Foundation, which a lot of people might be familiar with, but it's just a local foundation specific for Delaware County, Indiana, and East Central Indiana. But if you look on their top page here, they have a section right off the bat for grants. And so if you went to that page at the very top here, it'll tell you what it is that they fund. So in this instance, it says that they fund organizations in Indiana, particularly East Central Indiana, Muncie, Delaware County area. And then it says, well, organizations outside of this area are welcome to apply for support. Be aware that funding for organizations outside of that preferred region is rare. So just right off the bat, you know, if you're on like a federal funding website, obviously this will get much more complex very quickly, but that can just kind of give you an idea if your project is going to align with what the sponsor is looking for. And then on the Ball Brothers in particular, they have some helpful things like an FAQ. Since it's a very community focused organization, there's a bunch of different areas of focus that you can learn more about. They'll tell you what kind of grants that they offer. So like a more traditional general grant that operates on like a calendar funding cycle, and then things that can be more immediate, and there are smaller rapid grant opportunities that they have. And then one thing that on many sponsor sites is very useful is many of them, including, you know, federal ones like NSF or NIH, will have a database or a list where you can search of past awards that have been given out. So you can see for the Ball Brothers Foundation that they have this huge list where Ball State, you know, pops up in many of these. In just in the year 2021, you can see there's already several projects that they've been funding. So going to any kind of database, you know, things like the NSF will kind of let you search even by region, very like interactive and high tech kind of things that they have can just give you a really good idea of what's out there. And, you know, if you're newer to the grant funding zone, it can give you an idea of things that, you know, might be funded that you might be surprised are being funded. So yeah, that's just a quick example of one sponsor. Obviously, it will vary from sponsor to sponsor. And then I just wanted to show you a few helpful things on our website that you might want to be aware of. So in particular, if you go to our homepage, which is bsu.edu/SBA, or SPA will get you there. If you go to find funding and then scroll down, I would particularly encourage you to check out the Aspire Internal Grants Program if that's not something you're super familiar with. So this is something where if you're a faculty member and maybe you're newer to the grant space or are looking to do something to kind of help build you up to seeking external grants, this could be a really good opportunity to seek funding. It could be anything from if you're interested in doing research projects, if you have creative endeavors that you're working on, things like international travel or support for reprint or publications. These are all things that we have internal grant funding programs for. So I would definitely encourage you to check all of these out if this is something that interests you. Next, I just wanted to show you that if you were wanting to keep track of our internal grants and what is going on as far as when applications are due, if you go to the bottom of our homepage, we actually have a section that's called upcoming events, but a lot of these are deadlines. And if you go to our calendar, you can see all of the deadlines that we have coming up for these Aspire grants for pretty much the rest of this academic year. So if you want to keep in touch and know when things are due, that's something you can check out. And then I also wanted to mention the Communications Center at Ball State. So when we have things like, grant opportunities that we know of, both internal and external, or, deadlines coming up, if it's something that like has like a broad audience appeal, we will send it out through the comm center, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. By default, you'll get a daily digest that will have some articles curated for you. But a lot of people don't know that you can also manage your subscriptions. So if you go to commcenter.bsu.edu, you can go to manage my subscriptions, and it'll have you just log in with your BSU account. And then if you scroll down to where it says academics, and then ours, where we typically will send things out through, is going to be under the research programs and grants. So if you set that to immediate, as soon as we send something out, you'll get a notification. So things like funding opportunities that we disperse, or as I said, like deadlines that are coming up, this will get it to you right away. And then if you just want it in a digest, you can choose one of these. As long as it's not set to none, then you should be keeping in touch and getting word from us whenever we send those kinds of things out. And if you have any questions about this, either now or after, just feel free to let me know. And then, as Augusta said, this is just our proposal manager, grant manager page. So that's just, again, right from our website. You could very quickly see who your designated proposal manager is to reach out to them. The main thing that I wanted to show you now before we wrap up is just to tell you a little bit about the Student Symposium. So if you are newer to Ball State, you might not be familiar with it, but it is an annual event where students can practice presenting their research or creative endeavors in typically in-person poster board format that we have in the Student Center. It's held in April, although we're currently trying to figure things out, but the idea is it will be held in April of 2022 in one form or another, and we'll have registration beginning in January. So I wanted to just let you all know about this to encourage you to support your students and to encourage them to participate in the Student Symposium. It's just a great experience for them to practice their presentation skills and also to compete for small monetary prizes. So this is just a great opportunity for them. Particularly, they do have to have a faculty mentor in order to register for the Student Symposium. So if a student does come to you and wants to participate, we just ask that you help encourage them and support them potentially as a faculty mentor. And then also we are looking for judges. For every year we will need people to help judge the presentations so we can award the top ones. So we'll have more details on that as we kind of figure things out for next year, but just keep that in mind that we are looking for judges as well. And it's also a great opportunity as faculty to get involved on that level. If you're interested in learning more about the Student Symposium or just what has been going on with presentations in the past, you can just go to Explore Presentations on our page. And there's a whole website where we have a digital exhibit from last year because of COVID. We just did like an online format, and you can look at whatever your college pertains to and see what students in that college have been working on. And then lastly, I just wanted to mention, if you want to keep in touch with other things that we have going on or events or just some good news stories about research on campus, we do have social media channels. So feel free to please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And then if you go to our homepage and scroll up a bit, we do have a blog where we kind of write stories that sort of celebrate research, a lot of them involving students as well. So feel free to also visit our blog and keep tuned with that as well. But does anybody have any questions? And if not, I will sort of turn it back over to Augusta to wrap up here.
Thanks, Che. Yeah, we will take any questions. If you want to put it in the chat, that's fine. If you want to unmute yourself and ask the question, yeah, go for it. But we don't have any additional information to share with you today. So if there are no questions, then we will give you back 20 minutes of your day.
And we'll also be sending out a follow-up with some of this information and some additional links. So, you know, if you don't remember everything, we'll have that sent out along with a recording that will be posted, and you can catch up that way too. All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.